Welcome to the Wall podcast, brought to you by Wall EdTech, where your host, Jared and Kari Wall's passion for technology and learning come together to bring you up-to-date information on what's going on in and out of the classroom. From the latest apps and best practices to current trends, this podcast is Wall to Wall EdTech.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Wall to Wall Podcast. Today, this is episode 16, and we are talking about using Google tools in the classroom. This is the Google Drawing and Google Keep edition. So, thank you for listening today. I'm here with my co-host, Jared.
Hello, everyone. We're so excited to be back with episode 16. We hope you got a lot of use out of our talk so far about the Google tools we're using in the classroom. We've talked about Google Docs and Google Sheets, and last time we talked about how we're using Google Forms, and today we're turning our attention to drawings and Keep. So if you've never used those in the classroom, get ready for a wild ride.
Right. So we're still working on getting some information for our next podcast, which is going to be, we want to know what you're doing in the classroom when you are out. So we have a FlipGrid for you to look at responses, to give us a response, And so the link is in our show notes.
We've actually had a couple people respond,
right.
And we appreciate those who've taken the time to tell us how they're going to use or what tools they use when they're not in class, and we will feature those responses in our next episode.
You know, we know that most people listen to podcasts like us while you're getting ready in the morning, you're in the car on the way to work, stuff like that. So try to think about us when you're not in the car and getting ready in the morning so that you can leave us some responses so that we can have some good information to share to our listeners.
And to make that easier, if you go to walledtech.com on the homepage, we have a link to our FlipGrid where you can leave us that feedback.
Right. Speaking of our website, we've still been making changes to the website.
Absolutely.
Updating information and resources to just give you better access to things. So it's still under construction. We're trying to organize our video tutorials a little bit better. And so just be patient with us. We're getting there. We also work during the day. And so it's hard for us to find all the time sometimes, but it's getting there. So check that out if you haven't had a chance. And also, our contest, that's still going on.
Correct. We're having our Christmas Goodie Box giveaway from Wall EdTech. Some interesting things in that goodie box that I think people will enjoy. And if you would like to enter to win that goodie box, all you have to do is visit our podcast on iTunes. I actually put out a link via Twitter the other day. I will tweet that out again today. Mm-hmm. And if you click that link, go to iTunes, rate us, but you have to actually fill in the feedback section where you leave a review and then post that so that we can get some honest feedback on how we're doing, things you like, things you don't like, so we can make our podcast more effective. And if you do that, your name will be entered into the drawing for our holiday goodie box. So we're looking forward to giving that away December 25th.
Yes. So we've been looking into some tools and trends, and Jared has much more creativity than I do. But one of the trends is that student creation versus just simply using technology. So talk about that.
Want me to talk about that trend?
Go ahead.
So what was on my mind here is that, and I'm seeing a lot of it on Twitter when if you're not using Twitter, you need to be on there seeing what's trending in technology. It's a great way to do professional development. As I'm on Twitter, I see a lot of posts about what students are creating, and I think that's an important trend to make note of here. If you are a teacher who wants to integrate technology, and if you're listening to us, you're probably somebody who either wants to or is trying to. Right. It's not enough just to say, what I normally do in class without technology, I'm just going to do that and replace my paper packet with a technology packet. Right. So instead of kids working on a worksheet, the kids are working on that same worksheet in a Google Doc. Well, that's not really, it's using technology, but it's just kids interacting with what they already know how to do, which is mess around with the keyboard. What we want is students learning how to create with technology. So not just, I want to fill in a blank on your worksheet, but how can I take what I'm learning in that class and then use the tools that I've been given, which could be student choice at this point, if you're using multiple tools, to share their voice, create something with their learning that will solidify that learning for them. And what I'm talking about here is, let's say you are in a class and you're asking students to explain something they've learned to others. Well, give them a FlipGrid and let them talk, or point them to Adobe Spark or Canva, let them make a poster and present that information, or use Google Slides or PowerPoint and have them actually put a presentation together, or ask those students to work in a group to create a website with Google Sites that shows all the different artifacts of the learning that they did during the unit, so they can share that with others to explain and show how they're learning in class. So I think what I had in my mind here is not just students happen to use technology to complete a worksheet. Let's push past that and let's do like we're talking about in our podcast. Let's learn these tools and how we can have students take them and create experiences for them in class that make the learning more meaningful. So that was that trend.
Fill in the blank is still a fill in the blank,
Correct.
No matter what way you go about it. So by giving them the options to be creative, or you giving them a different tool, you accomplish the same goal and the objective, but you get them to do it in a different way using technology.
And I think Google Drawings that we're going to talk about today is kind of show you some of the ways students can complete these tasks, but be creative in the process as well. So.
Right.
What about tools that what tools do you have
we've
here,
talked
Ms. Wall?
we're talking about doing this, and I think we need to mention, you said FlipGrid, but there's also like Screencastify, Adobe Spark, Canva that we've talked about before.
Absolutely.
So, and the slides. So just to check those out and see what
And not
those are
saying
about.
there's not a place for students completing work. You know, we know that students have to do that level 1 work to learn, to read,
Right.
to embrace those concepts you have to know before you can move on to the deeper learning. But we're saying push past that and find ways to use the technology so that students are creating and having experiences rather than just completing a worksheet.
Right.
All right. So this is our technology tools and trends section. So that was the trend. Now I want to talk about a tool that I came across that is something that at my school we're going to start trying to use. So I wanted to talk about it today. And if you were like, if your school is anything like mine, we had a student council come to us and say, we want to be able to put information out to our student body. We want to be able to get feedback from students. Is there a way we can have a part of the website? Is there a way we can have an email address? So these things were asked, and what I found is that most students don't really use websites. Social media is the way to go if you want to interact with the younger audience, especially students at a school.
Right.
And so there's this tool called Classroom Intercom, and if you have never seen it, you might want to check it out. Classroom Intercom is a social media app, and basically what it does is it lets the school, the administrator, the teacher, whoever, create Facebook page, an Instagram page, the social media tools that the students are using, Twitter, and then you can actually have students who go out and report on things that are happening at school and make posts and pictures and news through those social media sites instead of the teachers and the administration doing it. And some people, I'm sure, are thinking, oh, Lord, what happens when they
Right.
post something
They're
inappropriate?
gonna post something crazy.
That's what Classroom Intercom is all about. It sets up an administrator account, and any student that's given an account, whenever they post something, it goes to a dashboard for that administrator, and it has to be approved before it actually goes out to the public on those sites. But it's a great way not only to let your students have some ownership in information for the school and selling their school and keeping people up to date, but it also teaches them digital citizenship, where they have to think through, is this going to get approved if I post it? Is it appropriate? Is it something that actually needs to be said? And so just a tool that I ran across that I wanted to mention for those of you out there who are looking for a way for maybe your club or your organization to be able to have students involved in that rather than just teachers and administrators. Look up classroom intercom. And if you want to use it, you actually have to send them a request for a demo, and then they get back with you about how it works. And so I will report back when I have more information after that process.
It's a way for students to have their own voice at their school and with the website and social media accounts. Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. So moving into our
question of the day,
our
topic.
Went blank.
Our topic for this episode.
All right, so we're going to start with Google Drawings. So Google Drawings, and so the question is,
what is Google Drawings, Ms. Wall?
Drawings is a blank canvas that allows users to collaborate and work together in real time. So this is where you can create flowcharts, organizational charts, concept maps, and other types of diagrams. You can put pictures in it. There's drag and drop options. You can change the background to an image, a solid color, or you can keep it transparent. And this can be embedded directly into a Google Doc.
It can also now be shared directly through Google Classroom as its own assignment, which is fantastic.
That's a new update.
I used it this week.
Yes.
Loving it.
So how are you using Google Drawings in the classroom?
Well, there's several ways. And for me, I'm a social studies teacher and an English teacher, and I think about it through both of those lenses. As a social studies teacher, maps, I want students not to just look at maps in a textbook. I want students to interact with maps. And so one of the ways I used it is I would create a Google drawing, and in the background of that Google drawing would be a blank map of the area we're studying, whether that was a civilization in a certain area or a country or whatever it is, but it would be blank. And then I would have students use the tools in Google Drawing to insert, whether it was geography, major landforms, major cities, political map, or we could even look at the climate map and we could lay in those areas of the climate on that map using colors and lines, and you can even insert your own pictures into the Google Drawing. So one way we used it in social studies was as a map. But this week, as an English teacher,
yes, he was really excited about this. It was really cool, though.
I found some really cool ways to use it, and I'm going to go back to the second one, but let me talk about story maps. So as an English teacher this week, I was teaching short story to my class, and it was To Build a Fire. And this short story is about a man's conflict with nature. Will he survive the cold of the Yukon Territory? And so I said, you know what, I'm teaching plot structure. So I found a plot map online, and I took that plot map and I made it the background of the Google drawing. And it has a transparent background. The only thing on this drawing is the actual lines and the labels that say exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. And then I put in text boxes underneath each one of those things. And so the directions for the students was, when you get to exposition, I need you to type into the box, who is the character, what is the conflict they're facing, and what is the setting. Then I want you to give me bullet points that show the rising action. So anyway, I've got this story map, this plot map that they're filling out as they read the story. And then I realized, you know what, it would be cool. I said, look, let me show y'all something. You can go in here and you can say, let me insert an image. So what images go with the story? So he's got a companion dog that's with him. So we look up at one of the dogs that's you would use on like a sled dog up in Alaska. And I find one of those and we put it in there. And it says To Build a Fire. So we find a little campfire picture and put it next to a mountain with snow on it. And then I said, I wonder if we can make these images move. So I look up an animated GIF, right, of a dog, sled dog running. And so you copy the URL or address of that image. You go insert an image by URL, and sure enough, the dog runs right there on the page. So when my students are done with this plot map, they've got moving animations and pictures that, so not only are they telling me in words what each section of that plot map is, but they're adding images that give me a visual representation of what's happening at that point of the story. It was just fantastic. The kids love playing with it.
Too.
I even put snow falling on the whole thing, so goes with the cold weather. Also, I'm using it for the hero's journey. In another class, we are reading through Literature of Transformation, and so we've been talking about Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces and this cyclical journey that every hero takes. So I put in a blank hero's map, and then I put in the text boxes around that wheel where they have to analyze the story we're reading and tell me what the hero goes through in each one of those stages. And we've done that multiple times. And that one you can also add images to. So we're using it right now with Odysseus. We're reading the Odyssey, which is a difficult task, but you can add in those images of the Cyclops or whatever it is you're dealing with as he works through his hero's journey. So that's two of the ways I'm using it.
And I'm really big on transferable skills. So everything that Jared just said allows students to utilize those transferable skills of, inserting images, resizing them, cropping them, things like that. I've used Google Drawings for a couple of things. I've used it for students to create posters. At the very, very beginning of school, like the first day or so of school, we do a poster. I have them create a poster that represents them. And so I always have my example, and it's this blank canvas that is filled with tons of pictures of things that represent them or things that they like and enjoy. So it kind of, as a new student, a new teacher, a new class and everything, kind of gives me an introduction to them. It lets me assess what kind of skills they already have, just to kind of it gives me lots of information, honestly. And so I use it like that. We've talked about using memes in the past. And so as students go on, I've used Canva, not Canva, but Google Drawings. I've used Google Drawings for them to create a meme to represent whatever, what we're talking about, business documents, things like that. So they create some little crazy meme, and it also lets me assess that, yes, they've got it, and they can apply, their own taste of sarcasm to it.
Right.
Also, drag and drop. That's a big feature to note that Google Drawing has, because all of our standardized testing now has the drag and drop feature for all these different tasks that they have to complete, and whether it's reading and math and things like that. So,
one of the things we discovered. The new state testing has technology enhanced questions, and a lot of the ones you will see are students having to drag and drop things into certain boxes on a chart or something like that. So with Google Drawings, you can set up those technology enhanced questions where you can set up the background. We've used it in English for Venn diagrams. So you can have students, you can have a Venn diagram, and you can have the different and same elements already written out in text boxes, and just have the students drag them and drop them where they should go in the Venn diagram. I could see using this in science, so you could have a background that is the life cycle of a plant, or you could have the cell parts listed and have them drag and drop those things where they belong. Again, we've talked about maps and timelines for social studies. You could have things dragged and dropped where they belong on those as well.
As a business teacher, they have different tasks, and they can drag and drop to prioritize. Give them scenarios and how they would prioritize these tasks and give the rationale behind it.
Right.
So that's another way that Google Drawings drag and drop can be used.
Right. So tons of uses for Google Drawings. If you can think of some that we haven't, we'd love to hear from you on that as well.
Absolutely.
So send us some feedback, or go to that FlipGrid and let us know how you're using Google Drawings. Now, the second tool we wanted to talk about today is Google Keep. Yes. And I know this is one that Miss Wall is passionate about. I know I use it in my own professional life to plan and to keep things organized for my lesson plans and for what is due at school and things like that. I know we use it collaboratively to make sure the website stays up to date. We can add tasks for multiple people to do, and then you can check them off and it got done. So what is Google Keep now that we've said all that?
I know. Google Keep offers a variety of tools for taking notes, such as you can include text, you can list items, you can apply images, you can do audio. It's completely customizable. So you can, if it's almost like a... Google Keep has what they call pin. So if you pin a note, it keeps it at the top of your list. So if I have my to-do list is always at the very top. I keep it pinned, but you can customize it with colors and images. And so I always, if I have an image that I need in there, I always put my image, and then, I'm very OCD. So my color of my actual pen has to be the same color or something that's going to match it. But Google Keep can be shared with others.
Let me stop you a second, Ms. Wall.
Tools.
I want to make sure people understand. We're not just talking about a to-do list. You can use Google Keep for a to-do list, and we do.
Right.
So when you put it in as a to-do list, it's a list with little check boxes that you can check off. You can use this for note taking. So if you
without the check boxes.
Right. So if you got students in class who need to take notes on the unit you're talking about, or whatever the topic is, they could start a Google Keep for just that chapter or that one day. So you could use it for note taking and organize and add images. You can literally click a voice note and talk into it. So if you're one of those people who is thinking about things while you're in the car, you could hit a voice note on there and record it. So it's not just a to-do list. It's for note taking and lots of other organization as well.
Right. So a couple of things to say what you said. So first of all, if I use it as a to-do list, I can set it as a reminder, and it links with my Google Calendar. And so every time I look at my Google Calendar, it tells me, it has my reminders listed on there.
It's an awesome feature.
Also, talking about the notes is that it can be, it has a feature, and all it is a little button at the bottom of your Google Keep note that says copy to Google Doc. And so those notes, so if you're taking them for a unit, the student or whatever, or things like that, they can click on that note and it sends it to a Google Doc that they have. But you can share these notes and your task, your pins, whatever keep you have, you can share all of this just like you share other Google tools. You can give someone access to view it or to actually be able to edit. And so I'm going to talk about how I'm using it in the classroom, is that my students keep a running list of their activities and their assignments and due dates. Now, I do this, number one, to keep them on track. There's a record of everything that they have. So whenever you check something off as being completed, it doesn't delete it. It moves it to the bottom, and you can click on the little arrow and see everything that you have checked off. So an example of when this came in very handy was I had a student who insisted she had completed this assignment, and I pulled up my side. There was nothing, and then she pulled up on hers, and she had no results posted because she had not turned this in. So I said, well, let's go back to your Google Keep. She went back to her Google Keep, and we clicked on the arrow, and there it was. She had recorded it. She had checked it off that it was completed. And so she thought she had completed it. So it's a good tool when you're going to a conference or anything. Your student checked this off. They had all this stuff, and they still didn't do the assignment or, whatever. So it's a good way to keep them on task. And, everybody likes to check off a checklist. So it gives them that feeling of accomplishment of being able to cross off an item that they've completed, rather than just, moving to the next one. They can check it off and clearly see, and it keeps them on task. Because
you're also teaching them a life skill they can use when they get out of school, staying organized.
And I have a section on our agenda that says record and keep, so they know what they need to record. So when they record these tasks, they're recorded in the order that they're due. So it's prioritizing also. And so it helps to keep them on task. They can see, oh, this is due in 2 days. This is what I need to complete first, or, whatever. Right. So like I said, it doesn't delete what they check off, but that's how my students are using it in the classroom. And I do keep checks. And so randomly, I just walk around the room, and they have Google Keep open at all times, or supposed to. And so this gives me a chance to check it. So I'll just tell them, click on Keep, and I will see their list and make sure they have recorded it. So if a student, it's kind of like a notebook check. So if a student's on task and they've been doing it, they will do just about anything for a little dum-dum sucker or a peppermint, and just thank you, I appreciate it, and just put them a peppermint and keep going, And so it helps them to stay on task and to be diligent about making their recordings in Keep. So that's how I use it in the classroom.
And then some other ways we're using it, of course, I've already said we use it to keep a running task list. We do the website for our school, and so the principal has access to this Google Keep task list, and we have access. So if he needs something done on the website, he just posts it to the list, and we can go through and check it off. I use it to plan my, I have one for school. So if there are deadlines at school, I make sure I list those, and I can check those off when I get them done. I have a separate one for the district, because there's certain things that you got to do HR wise for the district, for trainings. We've walked into technology conferences for professional development and created a different Keep for each of the trainings that we went into for that day, and we were able to take notes on it, and if somebody had a business card, we could scan it and
that was
put it
really
in there.
Cool. And you put that right at the as an image on the top of your Keep. And I use it all the time during PLC, and I record it. And so if I need to, if it's just to give me some quick access to notes and to jotting some things down. And of course, I can do this from my iPad. I do this from my Chromebook. You could do it from a laptop. You can do it from your phone. I mean, I have access to this 24/7 if I need to.
And we use it personally. We have not to share all our business, but there's a Walmart list, and there's a Sam's Club list, and if we think of something we need during the week, we just add it to the list, and that way when you get to shopping, you've already got it on the list. You don't have to think about those things. So something we use in our personal lives on a regular basis.
And it's something that we share. So if Jared goes first, he gets it. If I go first, I get it. I'm using it for notes right now. It's Christmas time, so I have my Christmas list on there, and things that I've got to get and do, and for who, so I can keep track of everything.
And in case this is blowing some people's minds, we don't do it all in the same account. So our personal stuff is in our personal Gmail account, but it's so easy to just click the little icon and switch between your accounts. So if you got one hooked to your school account and then one for personal, you just change the icon and it lists the ones for that account. And Google's made it real easy to keep your stuff organized and separated at the same time. So those are the tools we wanted to talk about today. That was Google Drawings and Google Keep. We hope you heard something today to inspire you to use those tools, and we hope you can think of some ways we haven't thought of, because
let us know. That'd be cool.
We certainly don't teach every subject and haven't thought of everything there is to do with them. So we'd love to share those ideas if you want to share them with us. On our next episode of the Wall to Wall podcast, we will be talking about the learning process when you are not in class, which is something that hit close to home for us this week. So please get on that FlipGrid and let us know tools you're using to teach class when you're not there, because we all know the substitute is really just going to sit there and monitor class, and the kids are going to do whatever work you leave to be done. So why not use a technology tool to speak directly to the kids? You can still go ahead and teach. You can use videos. You can use Edpuzzle. So we're going to talk about all those different things you can use. And my favorite that I'll talk about next week is popping online and using those Google comments in their documents to scare them when they realize
while they're working.
When they realize Mr. Wall's not here, but he's here.
Right.
And then they
he
always
loves to do that. He
yes,
gets
he
a
does.
kick out of freaking them out because they're on their document and they see your little
Right.
icon pop up at the top of their screen.
So that will be our topic for next week. Until then, this is Jared and Kari with Wall to Wall Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Wall to Wall Podcast. You can get all of our podcasts by subscribing to Wall to Wall Podcast on iTunes. For more resources, visit walledtech.com. You can follow us on Twitter or find us on Facebook. Just search for Wall EdTech. If you have questions, comments, or things you want us to talk about, visit Wall EdTech and send us an email, tweet, or message us on Facebook. We look forward to hearing from you.